Hey kids, here we are, MCUing again. I have no notes this week, so I have no idea. All right, so here with me as always, Amy Goldman, eating her chips. Yeah. Joel, no sunglasses on the roof. Annie King is back in the bedroom. And Mark Wotitzgartner, again, sitting, no background. What's going on with that?
I had a Costco run right before this. So I got home at 6
Oh, so
something.
you weren't prepared either, so don't be blaming me. All right, so this one we are.
I have notes.
Maybe he should lead it.
Maybe you should go first. So today we're going to talk about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which is number 25 in the MCU universe.
Does it matter?
Well, it's the 25th film we've watched, so that matters in the MCU,
sure.
Right? So we should be celebrating 25 films.
Oh yeah.
Well, we've actually watched more than that because we watched other
Joel
things.
is blowing the shofar.
That's all he's got so far.
That's all I got. The shofar it.
So far it. I could have
Yeah.
gone there. All right, so we had to actually go to the movies for this one because it is not playing on Disney Plus, which none of them are going to be anymore now, right? They made up their mind. They're like, oh, okay, maybe we were wrong.
Especially
Well,
after
Joel, I'm sure knows more than me, but I thought I heard that it's going to start playing on Disney Plus after about 3 months.
Well,
Yeah, they shortened the window.
They shortened the window, so it's actually not 3 months. It's at least 45 days. So, like from what I understand, Free Guy, which opened in mid-August, will be on Disney Plus at the end of this month. So Shang-Chi will probably be on Disney Plus at the end of next month.
But it will be a premium. You have to pay extra.
I don't think so. I think at that point it's just have at it.
Oh yeah.
I hope so, but I feel like they're going to bang you out for the first 30 days or something like that. But
Yeah. Don't you think Free Guy really needs to be seen in the theater though? It's like it's a big
You're
fun.
talking to someone who has a 110-inch screen in his house, so for me, I don't care. But yes, I saw it in the theater and I enjoyed it. So.
Hey ladies, Joel's got 110 inches.
always bragging about that size.
Exactly it.
I got 70
Not
inches,
life.
so I'm small in comparison. I only have 70 inches.
Oh.
All right, so Shang-Chi, I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun, and I think part of it, yes, was that we were sitting in a movie theater and it was on the big screen, but we've seen crap on the big screen, so it was very fun. Simu Liu, who plays Sean, is adorable, and he's funny, and he was a stuntman at one point, I read somewhere, and he was also in Kim's Convenience, which you can also watch on Netflix.
And he was also a former accountant. He spent a year in accounting.
Yeah. Mark has a whole list of famous accountants.
Well, accountant and martial artist. It's same thing as me.
Mark is an accountant and a martial artist.
And yet he still doesn't account for himself. So go figure.
And he's not famous.
No.
So. And you don't have your own movie, goddammit.
Make one.
So,
It wouldn't be good.
And I don't even have nits to pick, nothing. I don't, as people talk, maybe I'll remember stuff. But I thought the set pieces were fun. The bus, the building, I thought those were all fun. Awkwafina is funny, so she was funny. I don't know why she was brought along at the end. Joel, do you want to explain that to me?
Why not?
Oh, okay. Because it didn't seem like she really contributed. So, but
I was curious, is there like a spin-off, a sidekick or something that she's going to become, or
is she from the comic?
I to my knowledge, and it's been a long time since I've read the original comics, the Master of Kung Fu comics that these characters come out of. I don't remember there being a sidekick of her sorts, especially in the 70s. There wouldn't have been one. But she was entertaining, and I don't mind that she's coming along for the ride. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting her to be more like Luis in the Ant-Man movies, and she'd kind of stay in that arena. But now,
Right.
it seems like wherever
And
he
then-
goes, she'll be there.
Yeah, and
think
then
she-
she's not
she
a
bring-
love
she brings-
interest. She's not a
but
love
she-
interest. She's a friend.
She brings some star power, I think is what it is.
But I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
But she
Okay,
could. I mean,
and-
she also could be a love interest. I mean, they've been friends for a while, and maybe there's something growing. Who knows where they'll go with it?
Grandma even
Interesting.
asked, when are you two going to get married?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't see that happening. But again, recognizable faces from other movies. Michelle Yeoh, of course, from Crouching Tiger, and Tony Leung, who, if I didn't watch all those foreign films, I wouldn't know who Tony Leung was. But he was in something Joel made me watch. What was he in? Right? Like Chungking Express or something. Was he in the romantical one,
Yes.
which I loved? He
You
was in Chungking Express and In
Yeah.
the Mood for Love. Which
That's the one I would. Yeah, because you
And
just
I love
watched
both of those
that-
movies.
You watched In the Mood for Love like within the last couple of months, didn't you?
Yeah.
For your
And
foreign-
Chungking Express. So
Right,
and I
okay.
loved both of them. So so it was great to see him and Michelle Yeoh, and of course Benedict Wong made his appearance from Doctor Strange, which was fun too.
wait, what about I forget if it was the grandmother or the older lady in Ta Lo that was actually the love interest from James Bond's love interest in You Only Live Twice. When he turned Japanese, so
And You Only Live Twice?
Joel, you got to look it up. You could tell
Oh, yeah, hang on a second. Hang on.
I find it very disheartening that Joel has to look that up.
I'm sorry. I just.
I thought you would have. I
know
just
this.
happened. I started looking up everyone in the cast, and
You're
I was like,
talking-
wait a minute, this is the same
fucking
woman
Bond,
from
and I'm like, Michelle Yeoh was in.
no, from the '60s. Sean Connery.
I know my movies. I'm just.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I do have to, like I said, I really did love this movie. I'm giving it 3.5 stars, and I highly recommend you go see it, even if you're not a fan, because it really has nothing to do with any of the MCU, as far as I could tell.
It does help to know who the Mandarin is and Ben Kingsley's character, but you don't have
Right.
to know.
Right? No, it wouldn't. It would. Yes, I forgot Ben Kingsley was here, and of course it's going to lead to Doctor Strange because there was a little bit of that. So, Mark, do you want to go next then?
No.
No, Annie needs to go.
Oh,
I
Annie,
thought so.
Annie.
And he needs to
All
go.
right.
he needs to go.
So yeah,
mean-
no, I went with Amy to watch it and we loved it. It was a lot of fun. I would go with 3.5. And I mean, there were little parts that I could nitpick about. I thought the scene outside the building, the fight scene was so dark. It was just, it kind of went on a little long. It was good for what it was, but a little long. I was confused about Awkwafina going with him at the end, and I'm like, is she going? Like, she was so good with the bow and arrow after one day, so I'm thinking, oh, maybe she's got some kind of superpowers or something.
Yeah.
Maybe she could get trained by Hawkeye.
Right? Yes, is she a love interest for Hawkeye? Maybe, yeah.
He's married.
Yes.
Yes. Well, but have you seen the trailer for Hawkeye? None of
He's
that
not
matters.
married.
No, he's still married, but he's training somebody.
Oh, okay. He's training Awkwafina.
Wow.
No.
Of course, Ben Kingsley was fantastic. It was great, and I want that little pig chicken as a big animal, right?
Morris.
Morris, yes, I want Morris like as a stuffed animal. It was just so funny. That was really cute. It was a good story. It was a lot of action. It was great, and Amy will tell you that you put dragons into anything, makes it all that much better. That's Amy's line, but
I really never felt like anything went on too long. And I felt that in some other movies of this ilk.
When Annie and I left, we did say there were a few moments in the middle where we thought we can move on a little bit faster. I could have
Right.
made 10 minutes tops off the whole movie,
Right.
but not enough to bother me.
yeah, there was like was it at one point where they were sitting together outside, Aquafina and Sean, and it was like a deep talk or something? It just seemed a little.
We need some character development.
It seemed a little contrived, but then also like I felt like with Bruce Banner being there and Captain Marvel, it didn't like explain enough why they were there, and it gave like such a little tease that I wish like is there going to be connections? Is there going to be something, where they come in?
My response to that is twofold. Number one, it's just a way to bring in the other Avengers to let you know that this is an Avengers movie. And number two, because Wong, sensed the power of the 10 rings. My thought was, well, they brought in Captain Marvel because she's kind of magical in that sense. She has these super abilities, and Bruce Banner is pretty much the smartest guy on Earth. So it was more like a little conferencing, I think, to say like, have you heard of this? Have you heard of this?
Right.
Yeah, and to me, every post-credit sequence that really has some meat to it, like that one did versus the one with Ben Kingsley. I think they all lead you to something in the next movie or 5 movies from now.
Right.
So they're always like way open-ended, and you're like, what the hell did that mean?
Yeah.
Until you watch all 25.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought the dragons were like beautifully done and everything.
Yes.
The fight sequence there was great. It was really, really cool. But
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to more of him. It was really good as a beginning story.
Yeah.
Yeah, origin story.
Right.
I love a good origin story.
Yeah.
And I think Joel said this was the best origin story since what?
The Black Panther.
Black Panther.
Since Black Panther. So it really was. All right. Are you good?
I'm good. So I'll watch the rest.
Wait,
when it gets
before you
done.
go, I just wanted to ask if anybody caught, you had to be looking, I just happened to be looking in the right place. In the beginning, when Sean was walking into like a dim sum place by his house, I think maybe it was he was going to visit Aquafina's family. On the wall was a poster that said, post-blip anxiety or depression, ? Please call the post-blip hotline for something. I just happened to catch it. But that's like
great.
the only tie-in to that and the line about, half the world can get taken away.
Yeah,
That was the
one I
only 2
caught.
real tie-ins to the MCU that we know of, at least that I caught.
Funny. That's great. Yeah, and that line was very funny.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of disappointed that Annie didn't wear 10 rings today. You should have 10 rings on.
And bracelet.
I saw one. That's all I saw.
It's an Apple Watch 10, right? That's
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a 10. Okay, there you go.
All right, guys.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So I'll start by saying,
Thank God she's gone.
well, no, what I was going to say is, I think I'm going to say what we all felt. Thank God it's not another damn Star Wars prequel movie, because this could have been any movie and I would have been giving it 4 stars versus 4 stars.
Well, actually, I saw this opening weekend, so I've actually saw it a few weeks ago. So it was before all of that. Mishigosh, as my Jewish
Gotcha.
friends would say.
yes.
And I just saw it last night, so it's nice and fresh in my
Yeah.
head. So,
Yeah.
All right, so
All
we're gonna
right.
let Amy go next or what?
oh,
You wanna
sorry.
go next?
Mark, you want to go? You can go.
Mark, yeah, you got some backstory to give us since I'm useless.
I'm not going to go over all the details so much, but I'll give you my piece here. First of all, to me, this wasn't a comic book or superhero movie. It was a fantasy sword and sorcery movie mixed up with a great kung fu flick. For me, I started my martial. Say again?
Flick.
Yeah, I know that's a tongue twister. I started my martial arts back in 1984 when I was 9 years old, and as I got older, I really started getting into Bruce Lee and then ninjas and samurais.
But
and,
starting out, you wanted to be the Karate Kid.
it was 1984, the best year of movies, as Frank knows, when Karate Kid came out. Yes. Anyway, I wanted to get taken to the Shaolin Temple and trained to be an assassin, like every young boy, I'm sure.
No, not every
No?
young boy.
Not every.
No.
So what was I going to say? Since I love sword and sorcery movies and martial arts, this movie really spoke to me. I love the setting of Ta Lo. I thought it was very serene and peaceful. It was just done very well. It looked real. Even though the fantastical creatures that were there looked like a cross between Avatar and where the wild things are, it worked for me. It seemed a little kiddie-ish, but better than super CGI'd. It seemed to go with that world.
Well, it's funny because when I first saw Talo, I was like, oh, is this the Asian Wakanda? Is that what we're saying now?
Kind of.
Because it was kind of, away from
Yeah, it makes
everything
sense.
else, and yeah.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
I shall. Some scenes reminded me a bit of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I'm sure everyone got that, especially the fighting. Obviously, it was heavily influenced from there. As you mentioned before, Frank, the fight on the bus and then the fight on the scaffolding on the side of the building too. As a martial artist and someone who watches the choreography and everything, I was very impressed. I thought the wire work was really good. You could see it sometimes, but it almost looked real if, everybody was an expert martial art athlete, so really well done. And I guess I'm still stuck somewhere between being an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old because I do love dragons as much as I love boobs. So it's kind of like
It's impossible. That's impossible.
It's close. It's this close.
All right.
Before I stop, just for the negatives, because I am going to give this 3.5 stars, same as Frank. It would have been closer to 4, but I felt like the first half hour, and some people mentioned the middle of the movie, it was just a little slow, a little boring, dragged a little bit. Aquafina, I said she was going to run away with the movie. It's not her fault. I just felt she was funny. Certain lines were great. Other times, I felt like the joke either missed or it was just she didn't have any jokes. She was just there. I feel like they wasted her a little bit, whoever wrote this. And
I was
lastly,
thinking that you said that, sorry to interrupt, but I was thinking that you said that while watching the movie, how much you thought she was going to be the best thing in the movie. And when you said that, I thought, I hope she's not all overly jokey and overly corny. So I actually liked her. I didn't want her to be that crazy character.
Well, I think the thing was she was featured more than a sidekick.
Yeah.
So that necessitated her not being jokey sometimes because she served 2 functions. She was the sidekick and the main character.
totally agree. She still should have been a little bit funnier, I felt. That's just me. Simu Liu, he's obviously a great martial artist. He's a stuntman, but I didn't buy him as the character purely because he was way too nice and normal. Okay, if you look at any other, it doesn't even have to be a martial arts movie. You could look at The Winter Soldier, whatever. Anyone who witnessed their mother's murder at 7 years old and then was taken to assassin martial arts school for years and trained brutally. There's a movie called A Ninja Assassin that came out in 2009 that I love and I own. And I thought that the way that they portrayed that character is he was a bit weird, a bit like you notice when this guy walks in a room, it's like that guy's a little off. He's a nice guy and he's a good guy, but he's messed up because of what he went through. And I felt like his portrayal of just being a regular guy and a parking attendant, I didn't buy it. I didn't buy his backstory with that. I thought it was great as I liked him. He's a great actor. He was great in the role. I just felt like they should have changed up the story then. Go ahead.
Is it possible
Amy wants you
that
to
they
stop
were-
talking.
No, is it possible that they were trying to deviate from the cliche? Oh, he had a bad childhood, so he has to be all fucked up in the head. He can't be
But
normal.
I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Go ahead, Joel.
You're an accountant.
I think they were trying to do a number of things with that, and that easily could have been one of them, that they're trying to get away from what you're expecting. But I also think that you could tell that he was trying to get away from all that. He talks about, he's not this person. He doesn't want to be this person. He's trying very hard to forget all that until they find him, and drag him back in.
I definitely think this was his way of rebelling.
Yeah.
By
Like
living this life.
normal.
Yeah. By living this life.
But you can act normal somewhat, but I still feel like, don't forget, in addition to what I just said
You
about
wanted
everything.
a little edge. You wanted a little darker.
I want a little edge because don't forget, he also did go through with it. He did kill somebody and then he left. So if his mother's murder and his training didn't get to him, the knowledge that he then killed someone because he is a good-hearted person, that maybe above everything would make him tortured, a little more tortured.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find some negatives.
Do you know? Have you been in his shoes?
And well, he's
Have
watched
Matilda,
enough movies
I don't like to
know.
talk about that, Joel.
Oh, sorry.
And I did think it was very funny. You just reminded me that, and we've picked on this again about, he had to change his name so he could hide, and he named himself Sean
Right.
instead of
That was funny.
Shang.
Yeah.
And
that part,
Aquafina
Aquafina
points
was
that
great.
out.
Yeah,
Yes.
she was great.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I keep saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Change your name, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That's it.
All right, good. Aim, you want to go next?
Sure. I
You
mean,
were so excited last week to talk about it.
I was
and
kind
now
of
you're
like, oh my
Got it.
God, like this is a
Okay,
Saturday Night
yes.
Live character.
Okay, I will talk about it now.
I have to. I really was not looking forward to even seeing this movie. I was like, karate movie and whatever. But it was an origin story, which of course I love. Like the Karate Kid and Crouching Tiger are the only martial arts movies that I can even recall liking. And I thought, I did love Hong Kong Phooey as a kid too. So I was like, all right, fine. It's just another martial arts movie to see. And yeah, the fight scene on the building, it was dark, as Annie said, but I loved it because to me, this was like scaffolding fighting. There's something I don't recall ever seeing before. And I thought they did a great job. Like, especially when she was hanging off the thing and it was like, oh my God, catch her. And then how the sister actually caught her, loved it. Ben
And
King-
as opposed to Star Wars, where there were no stakes, here anybody could have died anytime.
Right.
It was great.
And Ben Kingsley and Morris just killed it. They just stole the entire movie. I pray to God they'll do a movie just with Ben Kingsley. He's brilliant. And I read that he loves doing it and he takes it very seriously, which I thought was adorable. So besides the part in the middle, or maybe even it was at the beginning where I thought it was a little bit slow. And when they were sitting on the dragon fighting, I was like, oh my God, that looks so corny. What I said to Annie when we got out of the movie was, well, during the credits, was the moment the dragon woke up from the floor of the sea and shot out of the ocean, it became a 3.75 star movie. It gained a whole half-quarter of a star just from that moment. I just thought that was beautiful. I got chills. Because like you, Mark, I love dragons. Love, love, love dragons and dinosaurs. So I left this movie thinking this is absolutely in the top 3 of all 25 movies we've seen. I loved it. As you all know.
So you're going with 3.75? Is that what you're saying?
3.75.
And
Fucking loved it.
and of course, again, we were in the movie theater. We saw it, and when the movie ended and the first credit came up, nobody moved. Everybody was like, "We know we have to wait."
We had people moving around and talking
Yeah.
because the lights started coming. The lights were up. So, and then after the first one, more people, they start talking on the phone. I'm like, there's going to be another sequence. Stop.
Yeah, no, our audience definitely knew that the end credit sequence was coming up. All right, Joel.
I hated it. 0 stars.
It's no Phantom Menace.
Yeah, it's no Phantom Menace. No,
Thank
as I
God.
said, yeah, I know. Thank God. I'm going to provisionally give it 3.5 because I need to see it again. I want to see it again. We talked
Oh,
about
I would
going-
so see it again.
Yeah.
As soon as it comes on Disney Plus, I'm gonna watch it again.
Well, and Natasha and I talked about going back to the movies, but we just haven't been able to fit it in. So if we do, great. If we don't, we don't. But it really is a well-structured and well-packaged origin story
Yeah.
for a character that most people aren't going to have any clue
No.
as to who he is. And
I think
as
that was
far-
part of the fun, Joel, don't you?
Oh,
I mean, we had
definitely.
no preconceived notion of what this character should be,
Correct.
except for Mark, who thought he should be darker.
Right. Well, I mean, having read
Personality-wise.
some of the comics, that were published in the 70s, it's he Shang-Chi it was a problematic, not he was a problematic character, but the rest of his story was very problematic because it was just very stereotyped and racist, and you're dealing
In
with
the
his
70s,
in the 70s when they created
people
the
were
character.
racist in the 70s?
Yeah, I know, surprise, wasn't it? Marvel actually wanted to do a comic book based on the TV series Kung Fu and could not get the rights. So they created their own character, and then they realized they had the rights to Sax Rohmer's Fu Manchu characters, and they combined them. So in the comic books initially, Shang-Chi's father is Fu Manchu from Sax Rohmer's books, and all the other characters that appear in those books were part of this comic book. That
so
went on for,
this is Master of Kung Fu, not,
correct.
it wasn't called Shang-Chi and
No,
the
it was the
Legend
Master
of
of
the
Kung
Ten
Fu.
Rings.
Yeah, he was the Master of Kung Fu, or there was a secondary book that was magazine sized called Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. But that's where he appeared, and you know, I think making his father into a less racist character, a more rounded character, a more grounded character, and taking the time to get to that point for this movie worked brilliantly. Tony Leung is great as Wenwu, and the fact that they've kind of put together Wenwu and the Mandarin into one thing, yeah, the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu.
No man can stand against the deadly hands of Kung Fu. He looks like an Indian there with that thing in his head and everything.
Mm.
All right, go on. Sorry.
Into the 70s. Anyway, but I love the fact that they, you know, made that connection to the 10 rings that we've been seeing and hearing about since the first Iron Man movie. The one thing that
Yeah?
I'm unsure, yeah,
Amy, you
That
remember
first-
that?
I remember that in the first Iron Man.
yeah, that's the 10 rings was the group that
stole
kidnapped
him or what kidnapped him.
Yeah.
I only know it because of Joel saying it. And when we started this whole process, if you recall, I believe Joel and I were the only ones that we didn't rewatch Iron Man, and we said, all right, after this, we're going to start watching it. So just as a real quick aside, Danielle and I just watched Iron Man over the weekend because we were bored and wanted to see it. And I was waiting for that. And I was like, it's so obvious that they're talking about 10 rings, but I didn't know what the hell that meant at the
Yeah,
time.
I'm sure I picked
course.
that up when you mentioned it.
But you know, you want to nitpick a few things that are legitimate nitpicks, and maybe it's something I didn't pick up on watching the film the first time. But you know, all right, so in Iron Man, he's kidnapped by Raza, who is claiming to be part of the 10 rings. You have those Middle Eastern terrorists. Are they actually part of Wenwu's group and the actual 10 rings? Or are they part of Killian's group? Or are they another group that was using the name? That's unclear. And it'd be interesting to see
Now
that.
I remember the 10 rings. Yes, of course.
But who's Killian?
In
Guy
Iron Man
Pearce.
3, when we first saw
Pierce.
Trevor as the Mandarin, that was,
Yeah.
they were also using the 10 rings, and that was Guy
Oh.
Pearce was the
Oh,
actual villain in that piece. So,
I definitely need to
Um,
rewatch that one.
and then I love the idea that there's, you know, that his sister is running a fight club, and that, you know, that first fight we see in the main ring is Wong versus the Abomination.
Yeah,
and-
yeah.
Kind of like, where is that going? You know, you know, as they're leaving, he's talking and saying, you know, well, Emil, you shouldn't pull your punches or something like that. And it's like, how long has this been going on? And are you taking him out of the prison that he's in? Because it looked like he was in the raft. It was hard to tell.
It's like, where's that going and can we come with you?
Yes, because I want to see where that's going. The fights in this movie, especially the bus chase and the fight on the scaffolding on the side of the building, two of the best action sequences in a long
yeah.
time. And I would say that the
Great.
fight on the scaffolding, for me, the number one fight sequence in any Marvel thing has actually been in Daredevil. In the second or third episode of the first season, there's a fight in a hallway that is just amazingly shot, amazingly choreographed. It is brutal. It is exciting. This actually topped that for me.
Wow. It was great.
Yeah. And I really want to see where he's going to show up next, you know.
Yeah.
And I do like the fact that Awkwafina's character Katie seems more, and she's less of a Luis character in Ant-Man and more of a Bucky or a Falcon, that she's like, you know, an actual like sidekick who's going to learn stuff and go
Right.
with him on whatever mission he winds up on next. So
Right.
I kind of like that. They have to explain some of-
These really don't sound like nits to pick.
they're not. They're, you know, they're silly little, like, you know,
They're-
another thing that
Yeah.
first the
They're
mid
Joel minutia. That's what they
yeah,
are.
well, because it was such a great movie.
Because this does
You know-
not detract from the liking of this movie.
Not at all. No, it's just question. I mean, they're not really nits to pick. They're more like questions.
questions,
is the
yeah.
answer. Let's talk about Captain Marvel's hairstyle. You know how because it's
Again,
changed.
yeah.
again.
Yeah.
And it's how far after Endgame does this actually take place, and what happened to Bruce Banner? Because the last time we saw him, he was still Professor Hulk, not Banner. So yeah, and the time my wife thinks they're all in an alternate universe.
Oh,
But
no.
anyway,
We don't need an alternate universe.
I know. Just
Well, I
like
think, you know, if you,
not
you
there
could
yet.
check with Dr. Banner because he has Captain Marvel's number.
That's true. I
And her
could.
hair is long.
I know her hair is long. I just mentioned that. Though, all right. So an actual nitpick. This story and the general plot of it falls into the, you know, we've talked about other movies where it's like, why were the Avengers not involved in, you know, Thor: The Dark World when, you know, London's being destroyed by the Dark Elves?
Right.
This is one of those movies where it's like, all right, we're dealing with, you know, yeah, Wakanda's a hidden place in Africa, but it's hidden by technology. This is a place that's hidden by magic. Where the fuck was Doctor Strange? You know, if there's a demon behind a doorway in a mystic land, you would think that he would be kind of keeping track of things like that and kind of be like, oh, wait a minute.
That's why he sent his cohort guy.
My Wong
Benedict
was there.
Wong.
No, I understand that, but where was Wong? Wong wasn't there at the end. I mean, he was there at the mid-credit sequence, and he was there at the Fight Club sequence, but he wasn't there.
You know, like God, he was
I know.
watching the whole time and saying, they can handle this.
Maybe.
Oh, but hold on, I'm gonna nitpick even more now because Wong said we noticed the frequency or whatever from the actual rings once they were on Shang-Chi.
Right.
He must give off a different frequency or whatever than Wenwu did, so they didn't even know about it before. But they said nothing about noticing the demon or whatever. So you know, Joel's point is really accurate. Doctor Strange should have been on it. He was
Yeah.
up
Like,
his
that's
game.
where we're gonna get the next movie.
Yeah.
Well,
He's gonna
let's
be
hope
like,
And
wait a
Dr.
minute.
Strange, perhaps, and he's
Did
got
you-
more midichlorians in him.
They're just going to start shoving Doctor Strange into every movie after, you know, he's in Spider-Man, he's in his own movie. Let's see
Yeah.
where else he shows up. So,
But we're not seeing a Doctor Strange until 22, right?
I think it's February or March.
Yeah. So we
Not
have
too long.
next is
Eternals.
the Eternals.
Eternals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we
Which
care
again-
about the Eternals?
There's nothing to do with any of the other movies.
No. I hate to say it. I don't know much about the characters. I mean, I have a general working knowledge of who they are, but as a group, but not as individuals. They fall into the same category for me as the Inhumans did. And Marvel TV fucked those characters
The
6 ways to Sunday.
Inhumans?
The
Inhumans.
Inhumans, yeah. The Inhumans were originally supposed to be a movie as part of the MCU, and they wound up getting shunted to Marvel Television and got an 8-episode series on ABC that is interesting, but not very good. Although I'd probably watch that over the Dark World again. But you know, I don't know what we're looking at going into this next movie exactly, but you know, we'll find out. I'm not going to see it. I want to see it because
Right, of course.
we're on for the ride at this point. So
All right, so that it? Is that it
yeah,
now?
I'm
Everybody's
good.
done?
I don't think I have anything else.
All right, so next week we're back to Star Wars and Episode 7, The Force Awakens. J.J. Abrams Disney kicked George Lucas out. They didn't even consult him on this movie. They're like, no.
No,
forget it.
George Lucas basically, when they bought Star Wars and Lucasfilm and everything from him, he basically handed them his ideas, and they said, "Thank you very much."
I thought you were going to say he handed them his resignation.
That's it. He's like, thanks
Well,
for the
yeah.
$7 billion. I'll see you.
Yeah.
So that's next week. And I guess that's it. We all love this movie. You should
Yep.
go see it.
Go
in the
see it.
theaters. It's in the
Go
theaters
see it.
now. And that's it. I'm Frank Gaffney, and we'll MCU next week.
And also with you.